I'm going to work right to left. Okay. Can you identify yourself?
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Sorry. Okay, my name is Wendy White. I've lived in Uxbridge for over 20 years. I'm a single mom running my own business, and I've been rescuing dogs and people since I was about 5 years old. About 6 years ago, I began breeding my favorite breed of dogs, American Pit Bull Terriers. Over the past 2 years, I have had a series of incidents involving my dogs that I believe to be discriminatory coming from Police Chief Freitas. I would like to outline the harassment I have experienced. In the summer of 2006, I moved one of my male pit bulls, Bruno, to my ex-husband's house to stay for a while as I had new puppies in my home. On October 4th of 2006, the ACO officer, Joyce Gareri, issued a violation to David against Bruno, stating he injured another dog. When I learned of this, I called Ms. Gareri and asked why the violation was issued. She stated that Bruno had attacked Faith Perini's dog, who is David's neighbor. She said Faith's dog was seriously injured and at the veterinarian's. She also told me that she was quarantining Bruno for 10 days and then would seize him and euthanize him. I called Ms. Perini to verify that her dog was injured. She explained Bruno had been loose but did not injure her dog, and all was well. I explained my story and asked if she would call Chief Freitas and explain so Bruno would not be destroyed. After many attempts, she reached the chief. I called the chief to verify and ask for the destruction order to be voided. He became extremely angry with me and threatened to file a harassment suit against me if I called Ms. Perini again, and assured me that Bruno would be destroyed. He slammed the phone down on me. About 1 hour later, Ms. Perini called me. I told her what Chief Freitas had said. She was shocked and said that she did not want Bruno euthanized. I was forced to hire an attorney to save Bruno's life. My attorney, Donna Turley, wrote a letter to the town manager, Jill Myers, stating they have no legal right to euthanize my dog. Ms. Myers' reply was not valid. As a result, they never came for Bruno. Nearly 2 months later, on December 1st of 2006, a formal destruction order was issued on Bruno. Under the advice of my attorney, I refused to hand over Bruno. Although the police and the ACO came to seize him, they gave up. On December 20th of 2006, at approximately 3 a.m., a miniature pony was killed on Pond Street. The owners called the ACO officer of Northbridge, Dan Chauvin, as they knew him and knew him to be somewhat of an expert on coyote killings, which had just happened at a nearby farm. His report concluded it was a coyote attack. He warned them that the coyotes would be back within 3 days and suggested they leave the dead pony exposed as to not to cause another horse attack. They buried the pony, and 3 days later, on December 23rd, in the afternoon, the other horse was attacked. They called Mr. Chauvin and left a message. He was not available, so they called the Uxbridge Police. Within 30 minutes, Ms. Gareri was at my door demanding to see my dogs. I let her view them. They were all lying down sleeping. No cuts, no blood, nothing. Calm as could be. I asked what was going on. She informed me of the horse attack and said that witnesses saw 2 black and white pit bulls leaving the scene. Approximately 3 hours later, my home was surrounded by police cruisers. There were 2 officers with rifles on my own land preparing to shoot my dogs. Anyone leaving my house or coming into my house was stopped, searched, and interrogated by the police. On December 26th, the police asked if Mr. Borghese, the owner of the horses, could view my dogs. I agreed. Mr. Borghese identified my 30-pound female, Nina, who's all black, as the culprit. He also said I had another like her, but a male, and I don't. He was wrong. Over the next week or so, the police randomly came to my door demanding to see my dogs. They parked at the end of my driveway, and they continued to harass all my guests and family members. However, they never came to seize my dogs or issue any violations. On January 10th of 2007, I wrote a letter to the Framingham town manager in an attempt to rescue a dog, a pit bull. The next day, January 11th, I was issued destruction orders on my dog, Rocco, and Nina. I hired an attorney, my attorney, Donna Turley, to save my dogs' lives. On February 5th of 2007, we went to court. The trial was several hours long, and 3 days later, the court found my dogs not guilty and reversed the destruction orders. On March 29th of 2007, my 2 9-month-old pit bull pups got out the side door due to a friend entering my home. He retrieved the pups within 11 minutes. Shortly after, there was a cruiser in my driveway, blocking anyone from entering or leaving. Soon there were 2 more cruisers and the ACO officer. Ms. Gareri banged on my door and demanded I turn over all my dogs for euthanization. She claimed they had brutally attacked several dogs. I demanded to be brought to the injured dogs and their owners. They refused to do so. For 3 hours, they let no one enter or leave my home and continued banging at my door. They finally left, unable to produce any injured dogs. Had I given up, all my dogs would be dead right now. Approximately 30 days later, I received notice that criminal charges were being pressed against me with a fine of $900. It states Donald Bagda as a victim. I went to court and stated I should not be charged criminally for 2 loose puppies. The charges were reversed to civil. I also asked that my accuser, Mr. Baca, be present for hearing. It took the police department several attempts to get Mr. Baca to court. He had no knowledge he was a victim in a case. I went to court 7 times and lost 7 full days of work and was fined $50. On September 4th, 2007, I was charged again with more criminal complaints from the Uxbridge Police Department. These charges were thrown out for no probable cause. The ACO officer and any police officer have never seen one of my dogs loose. They have never harmed anybody. Yet it cost me $10,000 to save their lives. And nearly 2 years after, I have to hear people that I run into say, oh, you're the woman that owns the pit bulls that kill the horses. I feel ridiculed and embarrassed, and I feel that I should be reimbursed from the town for my legal fees, my loss of work, and the slander that was made against me. And I also feel that the people responsible for these allegations should be held responsible.
Do you wish to leave a copy of your
You know,
statement with us?
I apologize that I did not get a chance to make copies, but I would like to be able to drop them off for everybody to review, all the charges and all the letters, notes, if I could.
Do you want to leave them, and
I can certainly leave them.
Can I suggest that we get copies to the officials named and get a response from them?
Exactly. That's where I was going to go with this. Right. Mark or no? Howard? Right. We'll get to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Howard Fortner, 44 North Main Street. Let's see, at your meeting 2 weeks ago, at Citizens Forum, I asked 4 questions about the cable and the cable funds, and later on, when you were speaking to the chair of the Cable Advisory Commission, I asked a 5th question. The answer to the 5th question was yes. That 5th question was, would you put the charge to the Cable Advisory Committee on the website? I'm not a computer whiz, but I have looked at your webpage, the cable webpage, the town manager's webpage, and find nothing about a charge to the Cable Advisory Committee. One other question I would ask about that is there was no real discussion about that charge. Did you vote on that charge to the Cable Advisory Committee? And if so, when did you do that? As far as the 4 questions that I asked at Citizens Forum, what I did the next day was I sent you all a copy of the questions. And the email that I sent to you started off at Citizens Forum last night. I made some comments about Charter Communications funds and the contract between Charter and the Board of Selectmen. As stated, I have no bias on the disposition of the funds. I just want to be clear and no longer, I want it to be clear and no longer disputed as to the use of the funds. I asked 4 questions that I will list below. As I took a look at your agenda tonight, I don't see any indication that you are plan to respond to my questions. My question then is, when might you?
Fair question.